I'm Rob Van Raphorst. Welcome to MBA Now. The midterm elections are right around the corner, which will determine whether Democrats or Republicans control Congress next year. Members will be busy campaigning, and Congress will have an active agenda. This includes a Supreme Court nominee to consider and other regulatory nominees and issues. Congress will also address funding for the entire government, including HUD, and even a potential long-term fix to flood insurance that is vital to the real estate sector. Here to discuss all that, as well as MBA's priorities for the rest of 2018 and beyond, is Bill Killmer, MBA's chief lobbyist. Bill, thanks for being here.
Hey, Rob. Great to be here.
Bill, can you run through our priorities for the rest of 2018?
Sure, and you did a great job of framing those, Rob, in terms of the items that the House and the Senate, already have on their agenda. Still some time for some regulatory items, particularly in the House, although the Senate may take up sort of the last wave and package of regulatory items that the House Financial Services has passed. We're still working to try to get the so-called GUIDE Act, which is a bipartisan bill, that would bring more clarity to regulatory guidance and rulemakings by the Bureau. And then some False Claims Act relief, another bipartisan bill that we're hoping to have considered by the House Financial Services Committee. And then you mentioned appropriations and funding for the whole government. There's some key issues, particularly with respect to FHA technology and upgrading their IT and quality assurance capabilities, and that'll be wrapped up in conversations. The Senate is actually pursuing passage of a combined so-called minibus of 4 appropriation bills. One of those is the transportation and HUD appropriation. They're probably going to finish that this week, and then they'll have to conference that with the House in terms of the HUD funding. And they'll throw in some other issues like tax relief, a little bit more tax relief on the House side. In particular, Republicans want to do that prior to the midterm elections to try to soften things up at the polls potentially with some voters.
Well, you mentioned the midterm elections. Can you put your forecaster hat on and sort of tell us what you see coming?
Sure. Well, past is typically prologue, particularly for an administration or a party that's in power, with Republicans controlling both chambers of Congress and the White House. And by that, I mean that typically that party sees some erosion in the number of seats that they hold. I think there's a general consensus that the House is definitely in play and that Democrats have a lot of momentum. And frankly, if you look at sort of 40 targeted seats that are very competitive, they've got to pick up a couple dozen if they want to take control. That's certainly doable. It's not inevitable. It's still a long time until November, and a lot of dollars and a lot of time on the hustings will be spent to try to see how that shakes out. But that'll mean real change potentially for our industry if Democrats are in control. Who's going to be in the leadership? Who's going to be the chairman of the House Financial Services Committee? Likely Maxine Waters from California. And depending on the margin of majority that Democrats have, her agenda will certainly be very focused on oversight of the administration, oversight of some financial institutions. Less of a deregulatory emphasis with Republicans not in power. But I think there will be issues that we can work on. GSE reform, which he's cited as a priority potentially, certainly protecting FHA and its countercyclical role, the government's role in housing. So that'll be a different challenge. The Senate, I think, a couple of Republican seats could be vulnerable, like in Nevada and Tennessee. But you've got a long list, and I'll kind of look at my cheat sheet here in states like Florida and Missouri, West Virginia, Indiana, North Dakota, Montana. Those are all seats that Democrats hold presently that are red states. And not only the president's popularity, but candidates that Republicans are fielding, there's a serious chance to see a flipping in those states. So Republicans have a majority now. It's slim. It's a 51-49. There's a potential, just based on the number of seats in play and the fact that Democrats have to defend so many more seats this cycle than Republicans, that Republicans could pick up 1 or 2 seats, but we'll see. Again, as I said a minute ago, it's a long time between now and Election Day, and it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Now, I know right before Election Day we're going to have our annual conference in mid-October. What can people expect in terms of panels or speakers or sessions?
Sure. I think the great news about this particular annual convention for MBA this year, and one of the real attractions, should be the fact that it's in Washington, D.C. And so with the government continuing to play an outsized role and more of an active role in making determinations about how people run their businesses, it's a great time to come and hear from the government officials that are going to have easier access to come to our convention. So beyond just having Secretary Carson as a speaker, you're going to have officials from FHFA, certainly folks from the Bureau, on any number of different panels that'll be niche focused or topic focused, in terms of critical issues for the industry. But we'll also have panels discussing, kind of the intersection of politics and policy, what the midterm elections will mean in terms of an agenda that could impact the industry one way or the other, and a bunch of other speakers that are really going to speak to the heart of how people are, facing the market conditions that are shifting now. So I think it's timely. I think DC makes it a great place to have it, and we of course encourage people to take advantage of that early bird rate and register now.
Right. Always fascinating, Bill. Thanks so much for stopping by.
You bet.